Welcome back to the weekend. Donald Trump's national security shakeup has injected new chaos into his administration, as if there wasn't already enough of that. After he announced plans to move his national security advisor, Mike Waltz, from his current post to be nominee for UN ambassador, Waltz will face an uphill climb to Senate confirmation for his new role, given his central role in the Signalgate scandal. But the Washington Post reports Waltz angered Donald Trump before that scandal. Waltz also upset Trump after an Oval Office visit in early February by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, when the national security advisor appeared to share the Israeli leader's conviction that the time was ripe to strike Iran, adding that, quote, Waltz appeared to have engaged in intense coordination with Netanyahu about military options against Iran ahead of an Oval Office meeting between the Israeli leader and Trump. Joining us now is someone who knows Waltz's role well, and also the role that he may head into as UN ambassador. We have former National Security Advisor to Trump, Ambassador John Bolton. So, Ambassador Bolton, you know what it takes to be in the role of National Security Advisor and just the knowledge of the bureaucracy, the sweep and scope of the role. How is Marco Rubio going to balance these two roles effectively?
Well, I think it's almost impossible for anybody to do it. This is not a criticism of Marco Rubio. The jobs overlap to a certain extent, that's true, but they're fundamentally pointed in different directions. The National Security Advisor serves as the president's agent to coordinate policy making and implementation of policy across the bureaucracy, whereas the Secretary of State is the lead diplomat, the lead public figure in diplomatic matters. It's true that Henry Kissinger once held both jobs. Let's start off with the obvious. Henry Kissinger is Henry Kissinger. And number two, it occurred during the very depths of Watergate when the then Secretary of State William Rogers resigned. Many people thought that only Henry Kissinger could get confirmed by the Senate, and he kept both jobs through Nixon's near impeachment, his resignation, and into the early days of the Ford administration before Ford finally concluded the job should be split again, which they were, and Brent Scowcroft got the job. So I wouldn't say that's exactly a parallel the Trump administration wants to draw.
I mean, Ambassador Bolton, the National Security Advisor also plays the role of mediator, right? You have all of the folks that represent the national security apparatus that come to the president with all of their wants and needs in conversation, and the National Security Advisor is supposed to kind of be in the middle, but now you have Marco Rubio, who's going to be playing both. I guess how dangerous is this? When the American people see that the Secretary of State has this job, but also as the archivist and also as the acting head of USAID, how should we be thinking about our foreign policy, the safeness of this country, when, as we know, threats are popping up every single day, when he's also going to be serving as National Security Advisor?
Right. Well, I think there are two aspects to it. Indeed, Kissinger himself was heavily criticized during his time holding both positions for, surprise, surprise, being biased in favor of his own positions. And to the extent the National Security Advisor can function as an honest broker, that's obviously called into question. But I think even more important at this point, there are so many threats and challenges to the United States and its friends around the world that you need two people doing what are, let's face it, two more than full-time jobs. And again, this is not any criticism of Rubio. I don't know anybody really who could do both jobs satisfactorily. I think what it really shows is the president's just trying to reduce dissidents around him. He wants to hear what he wants to hear. When he seeks other people's opinions, it's not to get their opinion, it's to look for somebody who agrees with himself. He's just reduced the difficulty of doing that by one person now.
Yeah, consolidation of power. Also, Ambassador Bolton, it sounds like it's raining real hard where you are. I don't know if other people can hear it. Let's talk about the other job you had that Elise talked about in the intro. You were the United States Ambassador, permanent representative to the United Nations. Vice President Pence is trying to spin Mike Waltz's nomination to be in the job you had as a promotion. I mean, on paper, it seems like a promotion from national security advisor, but you tell me, as someone who has been in both jobs.
No, I mean, it's look, I love being UN ambassador. It's a great job. There's no question about it. But in terms of being able to influence policy, it's not even a close question. The National Security Advisor is far more likely to be influential. The office is only a couple yards down the hall from the Oval Office. And the fact is, the UN ambassador actually has a job to do, too, in addition to what the level of the title may show. So I think if you took a survey and asked any number of national security related people in Washington or around the country, they would overwhelmingly say that National Security Advisor was the more important job. I don't even think that's a close question.
Well, I mean, the U.S. ambassador to the UN, however, gets a real nice apartment. But go on, Elise, sorry.
Definitely. That's the only upgrade from NSA. Ambassador Bolton, the Washington Post reported that policy disagreements over whether to strike Iran were at the forefront of Donald Trump's decision to move on from Mike Waltz. Now that Secretary Rubio is in that position, traditionally, he has held a similarly hawkish view on Iran. And I know that you know Senator Rubio. Where do you think Senator Rubio is on the question of strikes in Iran?
Well, I think he took, rightfully so, a very hard line on the question of this proliferation threat that Iran poses and what probably is necessary to spare not just Israel or the Gulf Arab states, but the United States and the whole world from the spectacle of the regime of the Ayatollahs having the world's most dangerous weapon. Now, whether he'll speak up for that or not in internal deliberations, I don't know. I don't buy the idea that somehow just because somebody comes up with a suggestion that the president doesn't agree with, that's grounds for removal. And I took note of a number of reports that said that Chief of Staff Susie Wiles thought that Waltz wasn't in tune with the president. Look, the president picked Waltz. If he failed to ask him what his views were before he hired him, that's on Trump. I mean, he can have anybody he wants. But there is utility in the president's advisors making sure that he knows what the alternatives are. In fact, that's the National Security Advisor's main job, following the pattern that Brent Scowcroft set and then reset during the George H.W. Bush administration, the pattern every National Security Advisor since then has at least said they follow. Give the president all the information that he needs to make a decision, give him the options, give him the pros and cons. The president will make the decision. Each advisor can give his or her opinion. But the idea you can only have one opinion surrounding the president, that's what Trump may want. That's probably is what he wants. It's bad for him. It's worse for the country.